How do you become more famous? Or how do you work with an agent? Or how do you do any of these things that you see people doing on like a high scale? If we're just meeting, my name is Caroline Ravn. I'm a full-time magician and YouTuber, and I try to be the most honest magician here on YouTube. I try to speak to you from my heart, talking about the business side of show business. And in this video, I wanted to show you something that I recorded for another group that I'm part of, like a mastermind. And it's an interview with me and my agent that I've been working with for almost 6 years now. And also a discussion where I basically, like, it's more like a monologue where I talk about the ups and downs of the kind of life that I live. And I thought it would be nice to share here as well, so you guys can see what it actually looks like and what it really is like. So some of these things are basically just meant for a super duper niche group of people, like super duper like in the mastermind kind of situation. But I thought it would be interesting to share here as well, because you're gonna run into this situation where if you are the booked magician for something, you're gonna notice, oh my god, they didn't have a stage or whatever, even though it's in your contract. You're gonna run into these kind of situations, and I thought might as well share it here with you guys as well. Some of you guys already know this, but I have a platform called ravnmagic.com. That's where I spill most of the tea of what it's like running a business like mine. So if you ever considered going in deeper with a magician and making sure that you understand more of the business side, I highly recommend you to go check that out, because there I'm also doing live streams, and I'm also going to talk about how you build your brand and how you work with an agent and how you set up your magic show so it's actually prepared. So all of these things I go super duper deep into detail with over on the platform. So I do hope you enjoyed this little interview that I had with Charlotte, and I hope to see you guys in another video. Enjoy! Bye! So this is Charlotte. She's been my agent for the past 5+ years now.
Yeah, I think so.
That's crazy. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And there was no party, which I'm very disappointed at. But since I'm here, and actually that's something that we're going to come back to, actually. We've been very, very bad at celebrating, and I think that's a very important part when you're trying to go on this journey of becoming a more famous person, because that's mainly what I want to tell you guys all about. So you're here because I wanted to ask you if maybe you can tell the other people out there, what are you looking for when somebody wants an agent like you? You have so much experience. You've been working almost 10 years with this type of people. Yeah. Maybe not magicians. You've mainly been working with me. But if somebody is about to try to find an agent or a manager, what kind of advice would you give them?
My first advice is to go back to yourself and think about, why do you need an agent? Have you done all the work by yourself until that moment that you feel like, do I need someone in my team to help me go any further? And when we met, you were out there doing gigs for companies and stuff, and you wanted to go to the next level. And I think that was the right timing. But I think most of the people are like, oh, I need an agent, but they haven't done the job before.
I think that's very good advice. And I remember the first year we worked together, you 4x'd my income. Have I told you?
No.
No? And you only took a short percentage of that, so I'm happy. I should have told you sooner. But when we sat down for our first meeting, we met at a show, actually. And you came up to me afterwards, and I had a heckler in the show, and I was like putting him to his place. It never happens. And she was there, she saw it, she thought it was cool, you know.
And I didn't even like magic or magicians before.
You wanted to leave, right?
Yeah, I was like, no, this is cringe, I don't want to see this.
Yeah. And here we are now. But anyways, the first meeting we sat down, you asked me, like, how do you work today? And you also asked me, how much do you charge for your shows? And I remember I told you how much I charge for my shows, and I think I said about $500 US. Yeah, $500 US. And you were like, what? No, we have to change this. Like, you have to know your value. And that's something that I feel like you have been very good at when we have been working together. Like, there's an extra zero at that now. So it's like, it's 5,000 many times when you book the shows that I do. I do a lot of emceeing and stuff like that. And so maybe you can tell us a little something, if you know anything, like short advice on how you can actually meet a person who is an agent or a manager or an agency or any sort, how to help them level up to that level. Like, what are you looking for specifically?
Oh, that's hard to answer. But I think if you want to charge more for a gig, then you can, like, if you don't have any agent or like crew around you, you can just set up an email with like I don't know, a fake name, and then you can email and pretend that you are an agent, and then add some more money on the fee.
So so you're basically saying fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Or like, hello, I'm working with la la la, this is the fee. And then because I know with you and some other people that I am helping, that it's hard to like, what do you say? Men jättedåligt. Men ta betalt.
How much to charge?
Yeah. So like for yourself, it's easier for me to say Caroline, it's happening. Det är jättedåligt.
No, you're fine. So basically what you're saying is that it's very hard to know your self-worth. Like, I charge this much money, because it's kind of hard to say that, especially we live in a country where we have something called jantelagen, which means basically, oh, you shouldn't do that, you're no better than me. So basically that's the culture that we live in. And having been grown up with that, it's very hard to sit on a sales call and be like, yeah, my show is $7,000 or whatever. Because it's hard to take someone else seriously, because if you charge that much money, there needs to be a gatekeeper in a way, and that's where you come in many times.
So you can just fake it with a fake email.
And do you have any advice if people want to become more famous? Do you have any advice at all? Because you work with a lot of famous people. Like I specifically think of Per. He's very famous and very successful.
I think you have to just put yourself out there and like contact podcasts, write blog posts by yourself, and like just make sure that people see you everywhere, every day. I think that's good. And work a lot, because nothing comes easy.
Like my favorite quote is by Dr. Bob Kelso in Scrubs. He says, "Nothing in this world that's worth having comes easy."
No.
And then the old person dies. And JD, super, super sad. Well, thank you so much. That was very good. Thank you for sharing.
And good luck.
I do hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
And this is the other side. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I wanted to be with you guys today. Unfortunately, I can't. I have a sick family member, so I have to be. I'm actually here with this is my best friend's apartment where we're currently moving out from, since everything is like super duper crazy. So don't mind the background, don't mind the mess, don't mind the hair. What's going on with the hair today? I'm not even sure. But that short video that you saw was obviously of me and my agent. This was recorded 2 weeks ago at a gig. For those of you who have been following along in the Facebook group, you might have seen the picture of the tiny stage that I got. Why did I not prepare this better? I'm going to show this photo to you. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to show this to you. It's so funny that we're talking about fame and how you become more famous, and then that happened to me right before this was going to happen. So long story short, I walk into the venue. I've been there all day doing an event. I did a short show, and then I was going to do a bigger one for the dinner. And I went down in price, which you never do. Take my advice. Don't do it ever again. And I walk into the venue, and I look in to see this. So this is my stage. And that wasn't even my stage when I walked in the first time. First time I walked in, there was no light. So I asked them, can I at least please have some lights? And because I thought it was a fucking joke. Sorry for cursing. I thought it was a joke, and it wasn't. So I asked the head of the venue, can you please give me some lights? And he understood it as a backlight. That's what I got. So right before the show, I obviously had to sort this out. I didn't have to pull the "don't you know who I am" card, even though I really wanted to. I ended up having twice as big of a stage. So the table was off stage, and this was my first time going to a venue with my new roll-up, which I'm so happy that I got, by the way. And like half an hour before, we were like, we don't need the roll-up today. It's going to be a great venue because it's beautiful there. And it really wasn't. And the roll-up was in the car. All right, so back to the topic. How do you become more famous? I think there is a lot of value in what Charlotte just said, even though that's just one sentence really, but it's like just being out there doing things all the time. So when I started, almost 10 years ago now, I went to every single BNI meeting that I could find. So BNI, for those of you who don't know, BNI stands for Business Network International, not intelligence, even though it sounds like FBI, but it's not. So I looked into their website and I started searching for every single event that they had around my area, or maximum 2 hours away. And you're allowed to go twice as a guest, and then you have to become a paying member. So I went twice to every single one of them. And I made sure that I had a great presentation to introduce myself, because most of these events you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself and say what you do. So what I did was well, you're basically sitting in a circle, like it's a sect, but it's not, kind of is. You're sitting in a circle, and then when it's your turn, you have 30 seconds to say something. And I made sure that I was not sitting first, not was sitting last, but I wanted to be like somewhere in the first, I want to say 30% or so. So, well, around 30% mark, possibly 40% in. So the person right before me stops talking, and I know it's my turn. So I do this. Why don't I have a pen with me? I should have prepared. But here we are now. So I just do this, and I stand up as I do this. I'm like, entering stage, the amazing, the beautiful, and I start standing up, and the continue of the text is entering stage, the amazing, the beautiful, the myth, the humble, Caroline Ravn. And then I start walking around or running around in the room. I steal somebody's pen, I steal somebody else's something else, make the pen vanish behind my ear, and then the other thing is gone. And I end the entire 25-second spiel really with saying, I have to think in English as well. So you make the pen disappear, and then the thing disappear, and then I'm like, that's how you create a magic moment. My name is Caroline Ravn. It's so good to be here. And then I sat back down. And what that did, first of all, it fucked up for the person who was going to go after me, because I was like, that's a too hard of an act to follow. But I made sure that they understood not only I work as an entertainer, they got to see it, even though like they're not paying for this. So even though they're not gonna book me possibly, because most of the people who are in a BNI, they're looking for people to buy their shit really, not really trying to pay for a magician that charges, a good amount of money. So they got to experience it, and it kind of got to talking, and I remember when interviewers and like reporters and stuff like called me in the beginning, they were like, we heard you're doing this and this and this. And most of the time I could actually like trace it back to like a BNI member who had seen me somewhere. And most of the time they had seen me in a meeting. And I think that's such a nice value to know too. Like the thing that Charlotte said, being out there all the time, doing the creative and going online and doing all of those things. But it's equally important to make sure that people actually see you in real life. So I think that's a great way to do it. Just go out, do all of the BNI things, and say yes to every single opportunity to be part of the community. So what I did, whenever there was like a possibility of doing a free show in my city for like a charity event, I made sure that I did that. And another great thing that I started doing was to tell people what I wanted. So for those of you who have been following my journey, you might know that my very first car was a Mini Cooper that had like a stripe with my name on it. And I got that, I sat on a dinner. It was part of like a network. So I paid like $3,000 to be part of a network, and we met 4 times a year. And we were sitting having dinner, and I sat with a guy who was the head of a car renting company. And it was only decision makers. Like if you're ever gonna go into like a big network where you're paying, don't go for BNI. Go for where the actual good people are. And it's gonna cost you a lot of money, but it's gonna be so worth it. That's actually also how I met my agent. It was because of that event or network. So we were sitting there having way too many drinks. And I told him, I was like, Stefan, I'm going on tour. You should sponsor me with a car. And he was like, haha, I should stripe it too. And I was like, yes, you should indeed. So what I did was I took my phone under the table, texted my agent. Oh my God, Stefan just agreed to give me a car. Which is ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? I texted her. Next day, she called me up. She was like, are you serious? Is he really going to give you a car? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he will. So we booked a meeting, and all of a sudden we were signing a lease for a car, like a sponsorship for this car. And as I'm signing it, I was like, is this a good time to tell you that I don't have a driver's license? And he's basically like sliding it out of my hands and like sliding it across the table to my agent because I couldn't legally sign for a car. Yeah, so I took my driver's license for like in like 2 weeks, which was, that was good. But I think one of the reasons he actually gave me the car was because he understood that I was not just somebody who was gonna, take the car and vanish, really, like a magician do. But I was like, I was already somebody, but I talked to him in such a way where I am here to stay. Like, I will take over after David Copperfield. And I think when you're out actually meeting these types of people, it's very important that you step into this role of this super duper successful person, because if you don't see yourself that way, kind of like Charlotte said, like fake it till you make it. If you don't see yourself that way, so maybe this is more of like a manifestation for yourself, then people won't see you that way. So I think also like being out there, going to meetings, not AA meetings, that's for might be for you too. I don't know you. But yeah, so as long as this is happening and doing great, you also have to look inward. Like, as also she said, why do you need this? But why do you want this? Like, why is this important to you? And I think with the fame also comes like, it comes this, what is that the word? No. The more famous you get and the more people know about you, I feel like the more you have to believe in yourself. Like, you come into meeting, you come into networks, you walk in to do a show, it has to, you have to kind of smell like success. You don't even, well, you can't just look the part, you have to smell the part, and you have to, like, the entire aura around you needs to be that. And if you can focus that energy, I sound like a hippie now, but if you can really center that energy and you can provide that like out to give it like a value to people, I'm 100% sure that that's going to actually help you into reaching your goals, into becoming a more famous and more, well, if you are more famous, somewhat more successful as a magician and going the way that you want it to go. I also think it's a very nice thing that Jonah is talking so much about increasing our prices, and that we may have to make sure that it's like on a nice level and all of that stuff. And it tells people something. Like, when you can actually charge a good amount of money, I think that tells people that you're like a serious thing to count on. So that's also kind of adds to that. So make sure you have all of the socials, you have all of the people that you're meeting with, you're going to the events, and you're dressing and smelling the part. And I think maybe it's when you have all of those things, and if you don't see it's actually going up, I think maybe you have to look inward, because maybe that's where it's not working for you. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. Unfortunately, I'm not here today, but I hope to see you guys next week. So hope you enjoyed it. Talk soon. Bye bye.